We are 7 episodes into the 10-episode first season of Dexter Resurrection, making it possibly the least perfect time to delve through the kills we've experienced so far. Still, my paycheck continues to clear, so let's talk about some murders. And hey, let's rank them worst to best while we're at it. You know, for funsies. First up, there's the jogger who Al kills as part of his presentation in episode 7. She's so inconsequential that I almost forgot to include her in the list. The only real important aspect to her is that she solidifies Al as a monster and someone whom Dexter definitely needs to take down. Moving on. Now, I think it's safe to say that the least memorable and perhaps worst major kill so far has to be that of Mia, aka Lady Vengeance. Part of this is just down to who dispatched her, this unnamed prison guard who's paid by Charlie to commit the deed. Like, he's got an interesting face, I guess, and the whole thing is a cute reference to certain other supposed prison unalivings that might be in the news. But it's just kinda lame, and I think most fans were pretty excited for where Mia's story might go and how she might wind up on Dexter's table. Even more interesting was where her story was definitively going. What with the whole Batista angle, something that Charlie in theory wouldn't know about, making the timing of the death pretty convenient for Dexter. I think that's the primary issue at play here. Mia's death feels like the show's writers getting Dexter out of a jam, and less like Leon Prater covering his tracks. Obviously, the latter is the actual in-universe reason for the murder, but that doesn't stop it from leaving a sour taste in my mouth. Still, the episode itself was rad and contains a kill we'll get to much later in this video, so it's definitely not all negatives. I just kinda wish we'd gotten more out of Kristen Ritter's character. Now, the next one is one I forgot about until just now, as I'm recording this video. Red's first victim, the one that we see in episode 2. He gets him with the Garrett and takes his head off. It's pretty quick, mildly gruesome, belongs right here on the list, I think. Next up, Red. This guy, dubbed the Dark Passenger, was a killer of rideshare drivers and has become Dexter's alias while he indulges in Leon Prater's little dinner parties. He's an incredibly important character, and so it kinda bums me out to put him at the bottom of Dexter's kills for this season. That being said, he's really only in this position because of how great our guy's murders have been throughout the season. When it comes to Red, the problem is that it's kind of a standard issue kill. The lead up is pretty solid. Dexter picks up Red and his guys as a year car driver. Red uses his garrote wire to try and kill Dexter, but Dexter has already thought this one through and uses a piece of building material to cover his throat under a turtleneck. Strong start. Then Red wakes up in his own apartment, practically welded to Dexter's kill table thanks to the typically insane amount of saran wrap. Dex starts to go over the victims, as he's wont to do, but stops early because he doesn't want to give Red the satisfaction. It's here that we get our first clue about Leon Prater's whole killer invitation thing, which Dexter uncovers after stabbing Red in the heart. So yeah, Red gets a fairly typical death, albeit one that acts as a catalyst for the season's big overarching plot. It's cool to hear Dex say there's only room for one Dark Passenger, but even then, he gets much cooler things to say and do as the season progresses. Speaking of which, in 4th place we have Lowell, played by Starship Troopers' very own Neil Patrick Harris. Like Ryan Foster, he's a real scumbag, and one of those guys you can't wait to see meet his end on Dexter's kill table. As one of the killers brought together by Leon Prater, he's already got some significance to Dexter. Significance which is cranked up substantially thanks to him being the first of the group for Dexter to dispatch of, due to his impending plan regarding a potential victim. This makes Lowell a very time-sensitive target, which makes the episode pretty exciting as Dexter must race against the clock to save a life by ending another. The kill loses points partially for its highly impractical kill room. There's so much wrong with the idea of Dexter commandeering a tattoo shop in the middle of New York City, and it took me out of the episode for a moment. It was just kinda ridiculous. However, I do really love that this one features Dexter actually referring to himself as the Bay Harbor Butcher. It's an epic moment that almost had me place this entry much higher on the list. When it comes to the Gemini Killer, we get a shocking twist at the end of episode 6. Well, a twist anyway. Perhaps some of you saw this coming, but it turns out that following the death of the overly self-obsessed Gareth, there were actually 2 of him. Twins. 2 David Dostmalchins for the price of 1. This twist landed in Dexter's lap just as he was boarding a helicopter for one of Prater's mysterious private parties right before the cut to credits, leaving us wondering what the hell he was going to do with this information. He had already taken out one Gareth. What about this one? We'll get to that first kill in a moment, because this spot right here belongs to the second and final Gemini Killer death scene. Gareth number 2 doesn't do a whole heck of a lot during his brief time as the last twin standing, though there is a suggestion at one point that he may be on to Red not being who he says he is. Maybe that was a little too close for comfort for Dexter, because just a short time later he instigates Gareth number 2 into attacking him by first acknowledging that he knows the secret of the Gemini Killer, and then full-on admitting, with the sadism practically dripping from his mouth, that he killed Gareth's brother. It's a great moment from Michael C. Hall, who really gets to showcase how villainous he can be when dealing with Dexter's victims. Anyway, Dexter easily takes down the final Gareth by stabbing him in the neck with a broken glass, and even manages to hide away a blood sample before Leon and the others can make it over to the murder site. I think what keeps this murder from landing further along on my list is that it feels kinda, I don't know, convenient. Perhaps it'll all be revealed later that Prater is onto Dexter, but right now he comes off as incredibly stupid if he can't piece together that Red is full of it. Charlie even calls out how little sense Dexter's story makes, and why can't Leon Prater, who is presented as this genius billionaire, figure out that the new guy is obviously shady? This apparent act of self-defense makes it even more likely that he's up to something, so it should stand to reason that Dexter's explanation that Gareth was the one behind Lowell's disappearance would trigger some alarm bells for Prater and his head of security. Hell, I barely understand why Gareth would do what he did within the context of Dexter's explanation. It's all very thin, even for one of Dexter's classic fibs, and it takes away from the kill, in my opinion. It also, frankly, kinda takes away from the twist from the end of the previous episode. For a minute there, it seems like this Gemini kerfuffle could be a real issue, but it seems like Dexter took care of things just fine. Again, that could change with a later reveal, but for now it just feels like the Gemini Killer was hyped up just to be an easy kill. But hey, it's still brutal and bloody and satisfies our collective need for Marvel actors to meet their gruesome demise. So, there's that. Man, I have a lot of feelings about the Gemini Killer, apparently. Woof! Then there's Ryan Foster. This guy was a real turd in the proverbial punch bowl, a serial sexual assaulter complete with a douchebag personality. He's the kind of guy whose face you'd like to smash with a toilet tank lid. And sure enough, our boy Harrison did just that, and finalized his first official kill in the process. This one ranks pretty high for me, due in large part to that aforementioned brutality. It's just a gnarly way to go, while at the same time carrying a ton of catharsis for fans of seeing sexual predators get their comeuppance. Like with Red's death, Ryan's also puts into motion one of our two parallel primary plot lines. In this case, the immediate discovery of Ryan's carefully processed body parts brings in no one's favorite character, Detective Claudette Wallace, as well as the whole Ryan Foster investigation, which just recently dovetailed with the Prater plot thanks to Mia's arrest. Oh, and I gotta award bonus points here to the cleanup montage. It's one of the goriest moments in the franchise, and I appreciate that the show started things off that way. Now, despite my love for Foster's death, there is one kill that stood out for me above all the rest, and it's Gareth again. Gareth number 1. His isn't an exceptional murder sequence or anything, it's actually pretty standard, save for one detail. Usually, Dexter likes to play with his food a bit more, let the victim say a few last words, that sort of thing, but in this case, Dexter's had enough of Gareth's bloviating and leaves his mouth taped shut and kills him while the insufferable prick helplessly mumbles his way toward death. This leads to a classic case of hide the body, with Blessing making a surprise appearance and just barely missing the body crumpled up in the shower. But more importantly, it leads to that excellent twist at the end of the episode, a twist that would seemingly do little more than add another killer to the roster for less than 24 hours, but in the moment, one that's deeply satisfying. Anywho, that last entry is probably a little controversial, so please, let me know in the comments whose brutal death was your favorite to watch, you freaking sicko. And of course, as always, thanks for watching ScreenRant.